Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. I just thought we'd cover this game briefly, Fight Fever. I'll do a bit of a playthrough, see how far I get on this. Hopefully I should get past the first 2 or 3 opponents. I've got quite good at this just through testing. It's worth noting this is was a Puzzle Bobble bootleg that I converted into Fight Fever. I think it was the one that came from Lee, I forget his name now. Plasma Pants 1, it was the guy who sold his neo-geo collection off. I'll just whip the lid off this. I just want to show you something inside that's been driving me nuts. So here we go, inside there now. Yeah, as you can see, it's it uses a Char 42G1 this. I'm not sure what would have originally been on this board. I guess probably something like Art of Fighting. They have removed the additional C-ROMs there, so I had no chance of telling exactly what had previously been on this. But looking at the top board here, it's another one of these Prog 16s. Now, if you cast your mind back, you may well have seen recently my video there on the King of Monsters 2 problem I was having with the M1, not the M1, the sound, the samples, PCM again, crackling. Just very infrequently actually on that King of Monsters 2, to the point where you probably wouldn't notice it. Like, 9 times out of 10 you didn't have a problem. It was only ever one particular sound on the intro. And that was something that I left for quite a period of time, from when I originally fixed that car. If you watch the original fix video, you could probably just pick up on that glitch when I first demonstrated it working, after I'd thought I'd fixed it with a new EEPROM. So 18 months later, let's say, did all the PCM fixes to the multi-carts, and they're all flawless, they're all still working fine, perfectly well. I revisited that on the King of Monsters and worked out that there was an issue with the cap size on those boards, 150 picofarad caps, 2 actually. So there's a bit of an update here. In that video I only mentioned the one that was down here, which you can see I've removed, where it says 151 there by my nail. Well, there's actually 2, there's one up here as well that says 151, and one's for the SDRMPX, SDRPMPX, and there's the other one, I forget the names of the damn thing. One's SDRMPX, I think, and SDPMPX, I don't know, don't quote me. You need to look back at my original. I'll put down in the description below, actually, that's probably the best thing. I can just never remember the acronym of the pinout there. It might help actually if I just pull this diagram over, just bear with me. Yeah, it's on here. Where is it? Yeah, it's the 5th one along, the 14th one along. Yeah, so you've got SDRMPX and SDPMPX. So there's one for the 4 MHz line, and the other one's for, I don't know, whatever it is, it runs in kilohertz. One for each side of the bus there, the 80 ampere PCM bus. So anyway, cutting a long story short, the same problem I found with this, since I've converted this into Fight Fever, I found exactly the same problem with this Prog 16. So there is an issue with these boards, depending on the game that's on there. It could be the fact that it's EEPROMs, I don't know. What I do know is swapping the caps on here, the 150 picofarad caps for 47 in those 2 positions, doesn't solve it entirely. It makes it a lot better, but it's still, I would say, it's there to the same level as it was on the King of Monsters, where once every, I don't know, 2 minutes or so, perhaps something like that, you can pick up on a sound glitch. It's probably worse than the King of Monsters, because the King of Monsters, it only ever happened on the intro, whereas on this, it happens pretty much every single round. At some point during a round you can hear some sound glitch or something, and I experimented with different cap sizes in those positions, and yeah, you can make it better and worse. As soon as you got below 44, it got worse again. As soon as you got above 44, it got worse again. Sorry, not 44, 47, it got worse again. So 47 picofarad seems like quite a sweet spot, and that seems to be the case anyway with all the multicarts. 47 was what I worked out. In fact, I went straight to 47 just from prior experience, and that seems to be the best value for these. So anyway, as you can imagine, still having the problem even with 47 picofarad caps on there, it was bothering me. I was like, well, what's different about this board? And it's only when I start tracing I discovered that second cap there, up here, when I start following the traces. I looked at the PCM pinout for those 2 pins, the SDRMPX and SDPMPX, and they go all over the bloody place, and this is the problem. This is a classic example of what I was talking about on the multicarts, where you get capacitive, parasitic capacitance. You know, the trace, if you look at this first one here, this trace, sorry, I'm just off camera as usual, the trace, it comes up here, goes to a via, and then if you look at the via underneath, the via goes up here to a pad, and then that pad is actually, comes up here. There's usually a link across there. It is measured it marked on the board 2.2k, and it's got a resistor symbol. Now I did try a 2.2k resistor. You hardly get any sound at all if you have 2.2k resistor in there. So not sure if that was to do with prototyping or something. It's bizarre. With a resistor in there, it doesn't even work. So that's a really weird marking on that board there. But anyway, the point is, like I say, you've gone through a via, across to a pad, up through the here, back through the other side, and then from there, where the hell does it go from there? I can't even tell. Oh yeah, it goes up here. This little trace goes all the way up here to something else, another point on the board there. I can't even see, but you get the general gist. They go all over the bloody place. One of them comes up. I think it's this one here. The one that comes into this pin here, just near the top. It comes from down below somewhere, but it also comes from up here. It goes through a via, through the other side, up through another via, somewhere else by another via, crossing lots of traces, in between traces all over the bloody place. So it's no wonder you get this issue with this Prog 16, because these particular lines seem to be susceptible to parasitic capacitance from nearby traces, depending on where they're routed, and certainly on this board it is a problem. I mean, if you look at the other one, the one that comes up in pin 14, it comes up here, again it's a whole series of vias all over the bloody place, and then eventually it comes back up out of a via here, up through here, all the way along here, running right in parallel to all these traces here, very, very, very close at this point here to these traces, goes all the way along up here and back through there, but it's also in parallel with these traces coming here. So there's lots of opportunity for that to pick up all sorts of noise and stuff from nearby traces, and I was damn sure that's what it was. And you can see what I've done here with these wires. This is the only way I could actually prove categorically that was the issue. So it was a bit fiddly, because you're not going to be able to see this because it's so small, but what I had to do is, if you just look at this, you've got this connection coming up here, and it goes two ways. This is the other problem with this, is some of these these two lines, when they come in, they go multiple ways on the board. All they do, in effect, all they need to do is go from here to a connection on this chip, and from here to a connection on this chip. Again, it's like two connections, that's it, straight line, straight from the edge to here. But no, that's not what they don't do that with this. They're going all over the place. There's two lots of the same thing going two different ways and ended up at the same place on the board. And they don't go anywhere else, they just go the same way but two different routes. So it's no wonder, like I said, they don't work. So coming back to what I was trying to say is, as the connection comes up here and splits off two ways, I've had to cut it with a knife very, very, very carefully, cut the trace onto two different directions, so it effectively ends here. It ends where it's connected to the inputs, and then solder a wire straight onto here, and then a cap, the nearest point to the connector here, straight to the nearest ground. And it's the same with this one. Again, it's coming all the way up here, so I've chopped it, so it's just that solder point there, and then just feed a wire directly to the point and a cap straight from the point to the nearest ground again, and that's it. I've finally solved it, and I've been messing with this particular board for a couple of weeks at least, here and there, just driving me nuts, not understanding why on this board I couldn't solve it. And that's exactly what it is. It's the routing. So that even if I left these wires, if I hadn't cut the tracks down here and up here, I've had to cut tracks up here as well, because there's multiple ways that the things have been routed in. You get a problem, that you've got to cut the tracks. You've got to basically isolate the two pins from here, from the board more or less, and then the same thing here. Isolate these two pins here from the board, again the traces, because the traces are the issue. The traces, even the point I'm trying to make is, if you left the traces in place, I hadn't cut them and isolated from the points where they connect to the actual car edge here, then you've still got, in parallel to these wires, we would still have the traces going all over the board, picking up noise and coming into here again. And likewise, if you cut them off at this side, so they're not connected to the chip, you've still got the same sort of problem, that if they're still connected here, they're still going round the board, acting like an antenna, effectively. Even though they're not connected to the chip, they are kind of indirect. At this end here would be indirectly connected to the chip here. So you've got to basically, like I said, cut them here, both ends, and cut them here at both ends, because they've got two. These have got two two sides, they come in from both ways, like I say, because of some noodle doodle design there on routing a single trace in two different directions around the board for God only knows why. Anyway, I'll reassemble this now and we'll have a quick play through this, but I thought you might find that interesting. Yet another PCM issue on these boards. So I'll play this in console mode. I'm not sure who's going to have one credit or two, we'll just see how far I get. I have got quite good at playing this. It's worth pointing out that this game is hard as nails, it seriously is. I mean, it's probably no surprise, most of these neo-geo fighter games are. There's a few that are really easy, but I mean, even on easy, it's so unforgiving. You'll see what I mean, hopefully. The AI is relentless at times, it seriously is. It just like spams you with special attacks that you can't possibly avoid, even as you're trying to recover, trying to stand up, you don't even have a chance to block. So we'll see how I get on, but yeah, as you can see, it's pretty cool. The sound's pretty good on it. Slightly different theme in the fact that, you know, this is about Taekwondo. Let's see how I get on here. Sometimes this first enemy can really, seriously kick your ass really quickly. That move you just saw her do there, where she tried to more or less mount my face, that's the move usually she'll just spam me with if I'm not careful. That's not too bad for the first round. One of the things I always find with these games, and I'm sure you've probably seen the same, is I'm pretty sure the way the code's been developed for these is to ramp up the difficulty when the computers are losing. So like, it's a round down now, you just watch, it's going to spam me to death with specialist attacks, I'm sure. Look, there's one on. Just wait for the face hugging one, whatever it is. Hang on, here she goes. But there you go, that, you can't bloody avoid it if you're not careful. I'm lucky, should have just looped straight into a second one of those before I could recover. Oh, there we go. That's another one. Look at that, she never even noticed to fall down then, she got straight back up. Give her some of her own medicine, look. God. I think she'll probably win this. They usually do on the second round. Oh, it's not so bad. It was pretty close there though. But yeah, as you can tell, it's got some great music, nice background. I like that particular round with the train stuff in the background there. It looks quite cool. Music in between rounds is quite nice. The stereo effects, it sort of pans from left to right and back again. So it looks like we've got a German opponent this time. I think the main character I picked there is from Korea. Got the little Korea badge on his top there. Again, this one's not too bad sometimes, but sometimes you can just totally spam you with special moves again. I tend to find sometimes you can spam them with special moves like that, especially on easy. And that can work quite well to your advantage if you time it just right. Oh, that I hate as well. You can't avoid that. They throw you. But look at this now. He's totally spammed me there. Never given a chance to stand up. I mean, it's a bit quirky. That's one of the things I will say about this. You know, compared to the other games, you know, King of Fighters and Fatal Fury and stuff, it is a little quirky in the animations, you know, they're a bit odd. It's just, you know, I don't know, it just feels like it's not quite perfected. It feels like it needed an extra 3 months in development or something just to get it just right, but that said, it is good fun. Once you get used to the controls. I haven't mastered any of the players yet, you know, the other characters you can pick from, but this one I've got fairly good at. I think there's only one move I can't do with handed on. And that's the sort of fast sort of kick thing. It's hard to explain. If I get a bit further, you'll probably see some other enemies doing it. some of that. Yeah, things like that. Did you see the way he slid under me? Just not quite right, you know, and the way you jump up with your arm up there at the end of the round. Well, which would be fine if it was like a freeze, you know, like a frozen pose. But all the audience and everything is still moving in the background, so it's like, what, you're floating? You know, it just doesn't look right. This round's good, but the monkeys there look a little bit lacking animation, frames and things, you know. It could just be a bit better, is what I'm trying to make. I think had it had an extra few months in development, it certainly would have made all the difference. Because it is a fun game, don't get me wrong, I do like this game, which is why I've spent so much time messing around with it, trying to get the sound just right. But it's amazing, when I first got this, for the first week or two, I couldn't even get past the first round. It's that hard, but once you master some of the moves, spam them like they probably try to spam you with special moves. It becomes, like that. You know, I knew he was going to do that. You can time things quite well, and you can just about survive. I can get to almost the end, I can get to the last couple of characters, and then I just get annihilated. I think when I come up against myself, actually, Vidal, whatever it's called, he's really hard. I really struggle to get past this particular character when he's fighting himself. Oh, spamming me again. So I just realised the camera's probably wobbling all over the place while I'm doing this. So close. Oh, look at that. Oh, cheating. Bastard computer. I'll do a continue because I'll probably get past him. He's usually pretty easy, actually. He's easier than the first two. I'm amazed that he got me there. If I just blocked just the right time towards the end there, that wouldn't have happened. A lot of the time you can actually spam this one with special moves quite successfully. Can't get away from that. You nearly got me again then. I think some of the backgrounds could do a bit more work as well. You know, when you look at this one, it's alright, you know, the plane propellers moving there, but it just feels like it's just lacking something a bit, maybe a bit of parallax or a bit more colour or something. Oh, so close. Nailed him. He's floating a foot off the ground again. I mean, it's clearly, you know, Street Fighter wannabe. This, you know, just so many elements there, especially that last level. You know, it just feels like the one of the rounds of Street Fighter. Is it Blanca? Where you fight Blanca in the jungle. Now this guy's can be pretty hard. You've got to block an awful lot with this guy. I've noticed. Damn. Sometimes trying to pull off one of the particular special moves, that one where I jump up like that and fly into it, can be quite hard to time just right. There we go. Cool music on this round. Something else I'll point out here, if you look at the top right there, where it's just gone off now, where it says waiting for challenger, push start. Check out some of the videos on YouTube, you'll see there's a bug that's evident on a lot of videos where it says, I think it says it in Cibo coin or something, I don't know. And I thought it was like Spanish or Portuguese or something for insert coin. It's not, it's a bug. There's a corrupt SROM out there. Now initially I had that ROM in here, so I had that very bug. Did a bit of research, worked out there were a couple of different ROM sets. Hey, master. And swapped out the SROM. And there we go, that's okay now, that text says push start. So that's worth noting as well. I think a lot of the emulators out there, you know, ROM sets for the emulators contain that corrupt ROM. I think one of mine does, you know. My actual neo-geo emulator I use, I found the same thing in there. This round, bloody impossible. It's one of these bonus rounds, hit the button as fast as you can. I don't know how good you are at these, but I just can't do them for the life of me. No matter how fast I try and press the button, I can never get much beyond 50%. You probably need like an auto fire or something to do that. It's quite cool the bonus rounds though. I mean, that one's pretty basic, but they vary a bit. You do different things. I think the next bonus round you have to kick boards different sides of the screen. That's quite cool. King Moon. This is probably where it's going to end, I suspect. I'm not going to put any more credits in after this because this video's gone on long enough already. Just to see how I do with this guy. Oh god, that's the move I can't do using that on Badal. Because I should be able to, I just don't know what I've worked out what sequence of events is for it. I can do that one most of the time. God, I might win this. Yeah, it's certainly showing through that I've spent a bit of time on this because previously, like I said, I'd get my ass handed to me on the first round. If you don't believe me how hard this is, give this game a go yourself. Compared to, you know, all the Fatal Furies, King of Fighters, I actually find this way harder than any of those. I don't know how he managed to do that, then he somehow turned that attack around. Oh my god, can't believe I just beat him 2 rounds in a row. Usually he'll take me a couple of credits down, so not doing too bad. I think we're up to, is it Badal next? I'm not sure. Somewhere around here I'm going to really struggle. This guy's pretty tough. Again, very Street Fighter. Looks like, what's he called, that guy? Geo, I can't remember the guy who's in front of the helicopter. He's got the American uniform on like that, you know, military guy. It's obviously very inspired from that. the back. Yeah, I'm not going to beat this guy, I don't think. There we go. Oh, that sounded to me. Anyway, I hope you found it interesting. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.